thank everybody for coming. Small group, I know, and it's been, I don't know, it's 6 months since we last met. It has to be. And, you know, I totally have more here, but I totally understand those that can't make it for whatever reason, business-wise, especially with, you know, the changes that we've incurred since. But it's great, and what we want to do is try to keep meeting on a semi-regular basis, whether it be once a month or twice a month, I don't know at the moment. We thought we'd kick off. The reason I wanted to get this meeting together, we haven't even met as a board, and that's, you know, my doing as much as anything else, because there's been nothing happening. You know, I mean, they literally shut down the Sonic Pathways for obvious reasons, and, you know, still visitors aren't allowed inside. We can't have anybody from outside, even, you know, apart from, you know, staff and contractors. So I don't know how long it'll be till we can meet there. So I spoke with Mark and said, I'd like to get a meeting together, and without Mark's help this wouldn't have happened. So Mark, thank you very much for all your help with that, for touching base with everybody. And Ashley kindly gave us this, and the advantage with a building like this is that we can sit and meet and still social distance very easily. And I think that's important, you know. I mean, are we 6 foot apart? I'm not going to measure. You know, if anybody wants to move backwards or forwards, it's up to you. But we have the ability to social, and I think that's very important skill at the moment. But I did want to touch base because this is the end of our year. You know, the Optimist year. We run to the end of September, Mark, is that correct?
Yes, September 30th, yeah.
So, you know, our first meeting in October is actually our new Optimist, you know, fiscal year and Optimist year. You know, I offered to stay on as president for the 3rd year. For me, I've done nothing this last year, so I haven't got any excuse.
You can expect more of the same from me.
So I don't mind staying on another year as president, if you're happy to me to continue that. We will need another vice president. Pam was sort of agreed to be vice president, with the main concern that she would not be able to continue as president this year. She said that she's got to back down with continuing as vice president because of everything that's going on, work, business and so on. So we do need another vice president. A name has been mentioned. Unfortunately, they're not here today. But if anybody would like to volunteer, as always, one volunteer is a lot better than a number of people press down. And this is where everybody sit down and fold their arms just in case they should sneeze and do that. You know. But if anybody would like to do the position of as vice president, I have asked somebody. I haven't heard back from them. They're not here today. But if anybody would like to be vice president, it'll be for a year. With the idea then you would ideally continue as president for the following 2 years. Again, it's not a hard thing, it's just something to take over from the president if they're not there, and just part of the board. And talking of board, we do need another board member. Forgive me, these are my scribble notes from our board meeting last week, and I literally come straight out of work. I had a 2-hour meeting before this, got the food and rushed out onto this. We have had somebody else that has stood down, and I'm reading my notes. And can you remember Mark? Brenda? Yes, Brenda, thank you. As unfortunately because of work commitments and everything, has asked to step down from the board. So if anybody wants to come on as an ordinary board member, the only commitment we require is really to help out with the generalisations. We meet once a month. Normally, we have been having online meetings, other telephone meetings, more and more. Even before COVID, we found that was more convenient. I can set up a conference call now. So the board meetings, typically you're not having to come out. So if anybody wants to serve on the board for 1 year commitment, that's all we're asking, then please raise your right hand, left hand, or sneeze, or blink. Okay, but think about it, and if you know, and again, we've got a very, very small number here, so I'm very, very aware of that. Reading my notes, so forgive me, this is not very good. Mark's videoing me and putting me right on the spot. We're looking at the possibility of Zoom meetings as well, if that fills in. Again, I don't know what your feelings are. I think everything, especially in business world, everything is a Zoom or similar type meeting. So it's either WebEx or Zoom or whatever. So we are thinking of that. So whether we meet once a month in person and then the other meeting could be a virtual meeting, we're looking at different options so that we can start building up again and getting together. Because 6 months without meeting has been a long time. I didn't want to set up virtual meetings. There was so much happening at work, so much happening in everybody's life. I think it just took a little time out, which extended far longer than I think anybody ever expected, and it's going to continue at least for the foreseeable future. So we might be doing that. One of my big problems that I had is reading my own writing, especially when I was scribbling it down. One thing that most people might be aware of, there was an email sent out, Jessica forwarded it from Michelle, about the Community Award. Yeah, not responsible, I know, but I think Michelle sent it to you and you forwarded it to everybody else. Yeah. Was the Community Optimist Award. And I think, I know people here voted, a lot of people voted online, I think it's almost unanimous that we should give that award. My thoughts are that we will recognise the person verbally or in writing, but wait until we're meeting more as a group to do the award in a more meaningful manner. To sort of say to somebody, hey, here's our award, that's it. It doesn't really keep into the essence of the Optimist organisation. So I thought, if that's okay with everybody else, if everybody's in agreement, we'll recognise her, through communication-wise, and then invite her to a meeting when we start meeting. Whether it be here in a larger group or whatever, we can invite her into one of the main meetings and recognise her officially then. So, everybody in agreement to that? Yeah, so, email to membership. I think that's all I've got, unless I've forgotten something.
Okay, thanks. I'm Ashley Bader. Thanks you guys for coming today. This is my gym. I'm glad that you're able to make use of the space because there's times when there's not people in here, so I'm glad that it's getting used by organizations that are important in our community. Another organization that I'm a part of, I sit on the board for Gratiot House, which is the homeless shelter in our area. It's a seasonal shelter, so we won't be opening until November 1st. And then we usually run until about April 1st, but as you know, last year it was cut short due to the pandemic. At this point, we're still trying to figure out the logistics of how we are going to open on November 1st and what it looks like in terms of volunteering and essentially keeping our guests that stay with us safe and our volunteers safe when they come to help us out. So we're starting to put that together. The difficulty lies in that the restrictions keep changing, as you are all familiar with in your professions and daily lives. So we're not exactly sure what we'll be doing yet, but we do know that we are still in need of volunteers. So if it's something you can talk about with people at your place of work or other organizations you belong to, I would be happy to talk to anybody as soon as we know exactly what we need and let them know how they can help out. Right now we need volunteers to help us. We're doing a lot of updates to the shelter, windows, heating and cooling, things of that nature. We expanded some of our family rooms because part of what we were thinking we could do is have partition rooms so that families could stay in their own room and then we're keeping people in separate groups. Whereas previously we had open rooms where the men stayed in one room, the women stayed in another room, but then we're fearful that that could get a little bit messy with the issues we're facing right now with the pandemic and restrictions. So we're looking at doing some of those things. Again, if anyone's got time on their hands, wants to help out with that, please let me know. We're still looking about how we're going to provide food because as it stands, we're not supposed to have people bring in food off-site to provide to our guests. So that's something else we're trying to figure out. If we're able to prepare food on site, then we would have volunteers come in and do that. So I can't give you a whole lot of information tonight. We're still in the process of developing our fundraising events for the year, which got cut short last year. And now with the restrictions we're facing, we can't do some of the things we were thinking about doing. So we're always open for donations, monetary, and usually we are in need of personal hygiene items, things of that nature, if those are things that people can contribute as well. But yeah, right now we're still looking to open November 1st, run it through April. Last year we were at, our capacity is 20 people. Last year we were at capacity nearly the whole time. So it is getting used. It is a need in this community. I think some people think there is no homeless population in our community, but there is. So yeah, reach out to me if you have time on your hands or want to make any sort of contribution to the whole house, and I will be happy to help you with that. You just have to
What was the question?
He said that he heard on the radio this morning that we would be opening November 1st, but it might be restricted capacity. So, yeah, it's so hard to say. I'm hopeful that we can serve 20 people. We had a lot of young children last year too.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the thing that gets to me the most. If we can at least provide a space for children, that's what I would like to be able to do. So we probably had 5 to 7 children consistently throughout the season.
So is there anything we could provide for the children when they're there for their stay to make their stay better?
I will let you know. That's one of the things we were looking into is Chromebooks for the kids to have at the shelter. So we're looking at some of those things. So they, if for some reason the kids are sent home and aren't able to learn face to face, which is a possibility. If they have to do virtual learning, we will want to be able to provide the tools necessary for them to do that. So again, that's kind of one of those things we're waiting to see how that goes, but I will let you know. If there's any specific needs for the kids, I can let you know.
That's going to be a big need in many places.
Yes. A lot of school districts have been able to provide their children with Chromebooks that they can take home. No, our Alma, at least I'm not really sure about the other districts in the county, Alma's not able to do that unless they're learning specifically virtually. And then they provide one for family.
Yeah. So these kids are mainly in the Alma district then, mostly, or?
They're from all over. Yeah.
Primarily Gratiot, is it just Gratiot County?
Yes.
Now, I remember when they did your presentation when they were starting out.
Yeah.
And then having a deal with it went down to some
Yes, they've done a great job. I think they were a little surprised. I just joined the board last year. The first year there was maybe 10 to 12 people consistently, and then it just, the following year we were at capacity. It was reached pretty quickly. But I mean, that's not a good thing because that means that we have that need in the community. But it is a good thing that we were, had enough foresight to recognize we needed this in our community, and that people stepped up and filled that need.
Is there a time limit that they can stay there, or?
Well, so the process is such that 30 days they should be looking for permanent housing, right? And so we have case management within the shelter. There's a social worker that helps people work through that process and meeting the steps that they need to meet in order to move towards that direction. That being said, there are half the people that have stayed with us the whole season. Yeah, so it's kind of it depends on each, it's a case-to-case need. Yeah, we have some people that come and stay 2 nights and then they're fine on their own. You know, just had to fill a gap that they needed, but then there are people that stay long term.
Any other questions for Ashley? Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the work you're doing too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, as y'all know, the Youth Appreciation Banquet didn't happen this year. I did send out a letter to the honorees, letting them know that they would be getting the plaque, and so we are taking these to the schools, and the schools will then disperse these. So unfortunately, they didn't get the event, but they at least still got the recognition. Okay? So if anybody here is going to stop by any of our Gratiot County school districts, Jan,
Yes.
and would like to take some frames with them, feel free. Thank you.
I think I'm correct.
No way!
I think I'm correct, Jessica.
The board met last week, and because obviously we met as a club like 5.5 months out of our year. Our year starts October 1st, and it runs all the way through September 30th of the next calendar year. So basically this is the last meeting, as we said, of our fiscal year for 2019-2020. And in that last fiscal year we met, basically stopped meeting in March. So we met for 5.5 months. So what we've done is we've taken the $300 dues, which is our annual dues is $300, and basically just billed 5/12 of that, or 5.5/12. So basically everybody's dues is $137.50 for this past calendar year, which was again October 1st of 2019 through September 30th of 2020. If you have paid your dues, then you'll have a credit going forward for this next fiscal year. If you haven't paid your dues, then it'll be $137.50 that'll be due. We also talked about the need to eat cheesecakes and have Christmas greens. And so, it's kind of almost like a service to the community and your neighbors and your family. So we're going to continue those 2 fundraisers. Both Twin City and Max Emily's Cheesecakes are on board.